okay, you didn't let emotions like drive you, right? Like you were more like you heard the voice of God that one time saying this could be who you should marry. Did you like just go and start praying about that, or did you like just kind of like try to shut down whatever that voice was?
It was both. And I think both turning into more of a wrestling with that inner thought. It's like, oh, maybe I can avoid this. Maybe I can wait for something better.
Mm.
Or,
Better than me. Can you
can
imagine?
I can't even
I'm
imagine
the
that.
best that could have
I
ever
can't even
happened.
imagine.
Yeah.
I can't imagine us thinking like that. And I think a lot of times, a lot of us do that too. And if we're truly trusting God, even and knowing that God knows the future
Yeah.
and knowing that God knows everything, then we will trust His leading too. And like I said, I already liked you, like on a very deep friendship level.
Yeah.
But to, marriage is like being with someone together till you die.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
serious, basically. What you're
it's a
saying is just so
serious thing.
serious.
So I need to know, I need to be sure, and also not to use my foreknowledge of you to disincentivize myself from following what God wanted me to do.
Yeah.
You understand? Like things that we've even talked about as friends, things that we discussed.
Yeah, because I was an open book.
Yeah,
As when
Simi
we
was a big
met,
sharer, like almost an oversharer.
not almost, I was an oversharer. Like I just like, I was like, okay, we're friends now. So here is my whole life. And here is everything that has ever happened to me. And like, I think that's kind of scared him. Like, dang, this girl,
Yeah,
how
it's
many
like,
lives have you lived? Yeah.
and so that those were some of the wrestlings that I had to do,
Yeah.
and God being so merciful to me.
God loves you because,
God loves
and what would
me.
you do?
I don't know. I always say I would probably be single. I would probably
No,
be one of the brothers that they are so nice to all the sisters.
no, I don't
Right?
think
I'm
so.
so nice
Somebody
to
would
all
have
the
snatched
sisters,
you
but
up.
none of the sisters who want to settle
You're
down because then
actually
you're growing.
no, you're a good
It's like,
catch.
oh,
Yes, you
yeah.
are.
You see, that's the mistake a lot of people have made.
What?
Right?
That I'm a
Like
good
I'm a
catch.
good catch. Then
I have time.
I'll be a good catch, and then I close my eyes and open. I'm 50.
Oh no.
So I really thank God for helping me and giving me the grace to 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 love you.
Oh,
Yes, I think that's
oh,
the
he
word.
loves me.
Really.
It makes me so happy. I love you too.
Appreciate you, right? Yeah, I love you.
I love you too.
Yeah. And so the I think for me is God being so merciful to me to even help me
Oh, yeah.
in that wrestling, in that struggle, not leaving me to myself and to my own selfish ambitions.
Yeah.
You know.
I love that.
Mm.
That's actually good. Yeah. So, okay. So I was in Philadelphia. Just to continue the story, I was in Philadelphia and you were here in Harrisburg. And what's now, there was a point that it was no longer friendship. I think it was obvious to you that, okay, it's like, I think she likes, I don't know what I was doing. I wasn't being weird because I knew he wasn't a weird person. So when I say weird, like I wasn't being like forward or, you know, we just used
Yeah,
to
weird
talk.
text.
Yeah. So I think like, and I think a lot of times when someone likes you, right? And it's funny that you had gotten like that
Well,
from
way before,
God
way.
that, oh, this could be your spouse.
Yeah.
I don't think I got that. I just had like a feeling. I don't know. It's just like a peace feeling. And I think there was a point where like even my dad called me to the room one day when I came down for church. And my dad used to do this where he would call like all the young adults.
Yeah, how
And
old are you?
yeah,
At 10.
at 10 years to this age, how would you really okay, start praying from here?
Yeah.
And he used to call people into his office. So he had done the same with me. And he had done that with these guys too, like that they need to start praying for
Yeah,
about
claiming.
marriage. Yeah, but I remember my dad and my mom calling me into the room one day, and they were like, "Oh, okay, if you could marry anybody, who would it be?" Right? And I was like, "Well, if I could think of anyone, it's only two people." So I told my mom, like, "Oh, that guy," or then I mentioned Kwame. I was like, "Kwame," and my mom and my dad was like, my mom was like, Kwame. I think my mom and my dad kind of like thought about it, like Kwame, like that sounds like my mom was like, Kwame, yes, yes. Okay. How do you feel? Like I think maybe they had me like explain what it was that I was feeling. And but then mind you, you were already going through like your own conversations with God
Yeah.
about like
Yeah.
about this me about me. So that's just kind of like it was a Sunday or a Monday that I didn't go back. I didn't go back to Philly on the weekend, and I think there was a meeting at the pastor's office, which is also my dad.
Yes.
So there was like no marriage committee. I think Pennsylvania didn't even have marriage committee at that time. But on that day, you had said that God had told you to wait.
Yes.
Yeah, but then you,
Very clearly.
yeah, I think like
And
you didn't wait.
because I think, a lot of times, and that's the whole thing, right? Because we're already friends, and I didn't want to like say something, trying to be Mr. Nice Guy
Yeah,
instead of saying, hey, this is what God has
showed
told me.
me.
This is
Yeah,
what God has told me that needs to happen. I do know, but God said I should wait.
yeah,
So what I did wrong was I acted in my flesh, trying to be a nice person,
mm,
and I said, oh, let's see,
let's see
let's see
how.
what happens, and I lost my peace from that
Because
point. I
anything for you was not gonna be like a romantic relationship.
mm-mm,
It was going to be like this was a marriage. Like
yeah,
you're going to
yeah,
get married.
yeah, and I lost my
Yeah,
peace
that
at
day.
that point. Um, I think it was maybe a week into then, and this was one of the worst
Was
things
this
I
in
ever done.
20? This was in
Yeah,
2013.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
because we met
yeah.
2012. So by 2013, early 2013, right?
I
So
think
we
we're
had
preparing for
maybe no, I think it
convention.
was even May,
Yeah, we're
around
preparing
May.
for
Yeah, we're
convention.
preparing for convention, which was gonna be in
Ju-
July
mm,
or some
I
time
don't
like that.
remember the
Whatever
timeline.
time it was, right? And Pastor Kumi was supposed to come.
Mm-hmm.
So now we started. So now it's no longer like a friendship. Now it's like a okay, we're just going to court into marriage. Now
Yeah.
he's feeling like he's not at peace anymore,
Mm.
right? And like so we start talking every day, like into like so we get like the permissions from church and all the things, like all the paper
We're doing the
signage
test.
from
Yeah.
DC church. No, this was even before the
This
test.
has
So like you know how they will send you like the paper to fill out and
yeah.
all the things. So he like a week passes, we are talking. Now it's awkward. It's
Yeah.
weird, like awkward, like okay, calling, texting, or not even like just like okay, now we're gonna court, right? And then we sent the papers back to DC and all the things, and it was just like
Yeah, it didn't feel
it
right
didn't feel.
anymore.
But the thing is that I was like, wait, so you don't love this guy, like it's not like you don't love this guy. I think for me, I was like, I knew that it could be something, but like I wasn't sure. Like I just knew something was just in me that okay, something good is going to happen. Something good is going to happen from this, but I just wasn't
Yeah,
convinced.
probably.
Like I didn't know what was going to
Mm-hmm.
happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then
It's kind of like you just going with the flow,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And for me, just hearing that definite weight, right?
you should have
Because
waited.
now in retrospect, like a lot more things needed to have happened in just you being sent, like for you and for me, right? For me to be more centered on God in the decision that we're going to take,
Yeah,
and then for you to be more centered on God in also like in your personal like relationship as it was growing
yeah,
with God,
yeah.
And so like I remember, and please don't try this at home. I think it was over Skype at the time we had Skype.
We were communicating through Skype because I was working in Philadelphia and
Yeah, we
going
didn't have
to grad
FaceTime. We
school.
didn't have,
We have
FaceTime
FaceTime.
anyway. So, and I said, hey, I don't think I can do this.
Yeah,
I
he
don't know how
called
I
me.
said it.
No, you were
I was
like,
even at the church.
no, this is what you
I
said.
probably don't even remember how I
No, no,
said
no.
it.
Remember, you were like, I don't think I can do this anymore. I think you should. This is what you said.
Yeah, I think you should
You
go
go marry
marry this
that
other
other guy because
person.
I had told him
I
about the
shouldn't have
other
added
guy.
that. I should have just said,
Yeah, like
like,
I think you should
I,
go marry this guy.
yeah,
And I was just like, I don't want to marry that guy.
I think I should have just left it as, this is
Interest.
what God had told me
Yeah.
before. And I think we should do what God is telling
I
us
mean,
to,
you're a 25-year-old.
I didn't like, I think for me too, I was just kind of like, you know what? I mean, you kind of already started the conversation with the Arab friend, just
Yeah,
and then for me, that was my way of checking out of
yeah,
everything.
like excuse.
That was me. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. We actually heard
Yeah,
of
remember?
this story. Yeah, so he's like, yeah, I think we should break up, and I think we should just. I don't think I can go on with this. This is over Skype, and I think we should just go marry the other guy. And I was just like very confused. I remember because like maybe we've been talking like every day. So well apparently I think it's been like bothering you. So I was just like, okay. And like this is after we've talked. Like, I'm gonna say we've probably talked for like a few weeks, right?
It was probably
Or something. I don't know.
yeah,
I mean, a few like
yeah,
2 weeks,
at least two
definitely.
weeks yeah, at
So
most. Yeah.
I was like, I'm not someone that I would ask questions. Like, if you tell me like I'm not doing this with you, I'll be like, okay. Like that's just what I would say. And I was just like, okay. Like he was like, yeah, you should go marry the other guy. I was just like, I don't want to marry that guy. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I think then I was just like annoyed. Like, what are you talking about? Like, if I wanted to marry that guy, I would be not here. I would not be here. Like, and then so the next week, so I think like he broke up with me on like a Wednesday and that
I
Thursday
actually remember the day
convention
of the week.
or like a Tuesday. Yes, because it was the same week as convention.
Yeah.
So like convention is like a conference like that we go to our church goes to every year. And like so so like on the Thursday now I'm gonna have to see him because the whole church and other churches are like going to
Yeah, the same.
the
Yeah.
same conference. And then so like we all drive. So I drive there. I drive in my car. He drives because I'm driving from Philly. He drives like the church. Everyone drives, mind you. So like he had also gone to my dad and told my dad, which is also weird because that's the girl's dad, but he's also your pastor. So I kind of feel bad for you. But he had to like tell him that I know we've already started this process. We've already started this process with the church. I am no longer interested. And my dad was like, because okay, one thing that also about me, also with my dad was like my dad knew everything about me. So there wasn't like any kind of like hiding, right? And my dad with his kids, it's like a very like big bond, a deep bond, like a love that like you can't I think that's how a lot of parents are. But I just feel like my parents are like just like it's my child you're talking about. So like, but like my dad didn't like fight with him because like they still went to convention, right? They still went to the conference with my parents, right? Mind you, he had broken up with me, and the thing is that was my last year of grad school, and I had an exam. Like that was gonna be like my final. It was like a take home exam, right? That I had to take.
And it was in the middle of that.
Yes,
All of
that
this was
like that there
happening.
was a like that we broke up. We broke up. And like at convention at the conference, I would see him and I was like, I just didn't have any like hate towards him. I'm like, oh hey, you okay? Like no, I remember when I was walking in when I just came, they
Yeah.
were there already.
I was one of the first
And I
people you saw.
yes, I drove, I parked my
Yeah.
car like
That was
wherever,
interesting.
and I was walking in, and you saw me. Mind you, he had
Yeah.
just broken up with me, and you saw me, and it was like you were like, "Hi, how you
Yeah.
doing?"
Because in my
Sitting,
mind, we
and I
can
was
still
just
be
like,
friends. You know,
"No,
like let's catch up from where we stopped as friends.
okay." And then I remember
I was so
like
naive.
walking into
Like,
the gate of the Jersey church, and I was just like, "Is it me?"
yeah, it
He
was
said hi to
you.
me.
Yeah.
Why?
Because we
Basically,
can still
like,
be friends.
yeah, I didn't want friendship, sir. Get it together. I didn't want friendship. And then he was like, hi. And I was just like, okay, like, I guess we're just going to add way. So I just like, hi. Like, so, and then we go about our day. And then, so like day one of conference goes, and on Friday, I think we were supposed to get food for our group that came from Harrisburg Church. And like him and this other guy, this other brother we're going to go get food. And like, I was like, oh, you guys are going to get food. There's like a good, like I was trying to be like, oh, we can go here. I looked it up.
Place, yeah.
And then you gave me an attitude. And I was just like, who broke up with who? Like, why are you giving me an attitude? Like you were just, it's okay. So like he gave me an attitude. It was just like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. And then he like drove away in his Camry SE. And I was just like, okay, rude. And then while I was so on Saturday morning, I think I was in the hotel because I had to submit that assignment, the test, the take home test. And then I submitted it, and then you were texting me like during
Yeah.
that time,
Yeah.
like on Saturday evening or something,
So,
like, "Hey, how is your?" Because he knew that I had a
yeah, I was feeling
test.
so bad.
"Hey, how is your exam going?" And I was just like, "Why are you texting me?" I literally texted him back that, like, "Why
And then I give like
are
this
you
really
texting me?"
bad response, like,
And then
"Oh, I'll check on anyone."
anyone, basically, I'm
Wow.
not special. So it's not like he was texting me because I'm Sydney. He's texting me because Sydney, you're human. I would have checked on any human that had a test today. I was just like,
Or I
this
mean, that was a stretch though. Like, I mean, like I'll check on my friends that,
okay.
but again, like you said, you didn't want to be friends, so
Yeah. So it's like I would check on anyone. Like I would do this for anyone. And I was just like, yeah, okay, I'm anyone. This was like over text message. I was just like, okay, yeah, this guy, whatever. But I was not distressed. I was not sad. I didn't
mm,
cry. Like I wasn't like heartbroken.
yeah.
Right. So the next day, Sunday, everyone is gathered. It's the last day to go. And like I'm sitting outside, and you're like in the main sanctuary, right? And the pastor
Yeah,
community
I'm
is
on the
like,
youth side.
oh, you're on the
Yeah,
youth side.
you were in the main sanctuary.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And Pastor Kumi is
Because I
like
remember that.
on the pulpit, and he's talking. But I think he was raising money on that day, like for like he was doing like church
Yeah,
funds,
something. Yeah,
something.
for
And I get a text message that says, "Hey, how was your test?" And I was like, "Oh, it was okay. Like it was fine, but it wasn't the best
yeah,
that I had ever."
yeah. But then I read it as, oh, it's the best exam or something. I forget how I read it, but that gave me some kind of, because I was feeling so bad after everything too that said leading up to it. But in that moment, I just had this, I don't know what to call it, boldness. I didn't think I've ever, I've never, yeah.
He has never chatted up a girl before.
I didn't, I don't think I even text any girl like, I like you. Yeah. So in that moment, I just kind of,
This is how you started the text.
yeah, I don't know how I even said
What
it.
the devil?
Yeah, I said, oh, what the devil wanted to do did not succeed. I love you.
Over
If you
text
give,
message.
yes, I can't even
And it's
imagine.
crazy because we've
It,
never said that. Even like when we were starting the whole courtship thing, that to see if it's gonna lead to marriage. Like,
yeah. So, and then I said, if she gave me another chance, I'll be the best person, the best husband, or the best, I don't know how I even said it,
yeah.
that she's ever known. And yeah, I don't have anything
Yeah.
else.
And
Nothing.
like, and I think like, so when I saw the message, I thought I was, because me, I thought he's just like texting me, like how he's been texting, like, oh, how's your test? How's your exam? Like, basically I was just like, okay, my test is fine. Like, so when I saw the part, like, oh, what the devil, it was like a long paragraph of text message. I think I love that text message so much. I think I kept it. And
Oh,
today,
really?
I've been looking for that text message.
Oh,
I can't
wow.
find it. I think I screenshotted it on my old iPhone. It was like, what the devil tried to do did not work.
Oh,
I
that'd be
love
nice to refer
you.
back to.
And as soon as you said, I love you, as soon as I read it, it's as if this sounds mad cheesy, okay? It's as if like something opened in my heart, and immediately, like, I think I fell in love. And that was like the moment. Like, I think before I was like in very, like in like, I was in like with you.
Like,
Yeah. But like, but like,
and me, I was in friendship
you were
with
in
you.
friendship, or
Yeah.
you were your friendship. So like as soon as like he said I love you, I was just like, I had like, it's as if God opened my heart and put like all this love inside my heart for him, in that instantly, like instantly. I was
Yeah.
just like, what? I was like, no, I was like, don't mess with me.
Yeah, that's what you said.
I was like,
And
don't mess with me, because like,
I forget how you said. You said in a very almost street like
yes,
way,
treat like,
like,
yeah, like,
and it's like, don't mess with me, man. Like
yeah,
something
like
like
don't
that.
mess, like dude, don't mess with me. Like I don't have, like basically I don't have the time for playing around. Like
Yeah.
he was like, I love you, and then he like there were all these things, which is why which is why I wish I had that text message, because I used to read it. It was
Like,
so sweet. It was like such a sweet message, and I'm happy that it came in a message, because like I had it like as a what do you call that?
Like a memento.
Yes,
Like a
yes.
memory.
And I used to go back and read even when we first got married. But yeah, so I remember that's just how we met. That's how
It's
we
a roller
ended up
coaster of emotion.
saying I love you to each other. And after that, it's kind of like the love for each other was
Yeah.
just like solid, and it has never
And it's been growing,
decreased.
growth.
Like it's like God literally opened my
Yeah,
my
our
heart, at least for
hearts.
me,
Yeah.
and like just put all this love for this one person in there. So yeah, that's just how we met, and that's how we ended up being married.
And our courtship was
Our courtship was long, so that was like July. We didn't get married till the
because they
next
gave
year,
us like we had special.
September. I
We
think
had
because you
like
were in school
yeah, I was
too,
in school.
like it was a lot going
Yeah.
on. I was in Philly. So I think when I was done with Philly, when I was done with my grad, that exam that I was taking was my last exam. So I was just done. And then I just quit my job at Einstein and I moved to
You're
Harrisburg. And
you're
that's
married
just
now.
how we've been married for the past 12 years to my
And we're
first
still
person.
friends. And we're still
Yes,
friends.
I know. We are
Yeah.
still friends. Like I think I really like our relationship because like it was based on friendship,
Yeah.
and it's like just like the most easygoing like relationship, but like it's like easygoing relationship that's like a romantic easygoing relationship, whatever you want to call that. That's basically what it is. So yeah, that's how I married my person, Emmanuel, Dr. Emmanuel Carter.
Or
Yeah. Yes, but I love you too.
thank for forgiving. Or like
Oh my God.
and I think maybe this is a very good point too. Like
Yeah.
sometimes we're not even talking about like physical abuse, kind of verbal abuse things, but sometimes there are things that might happen in the middle of a courtship, and maybe it's permitted to kind of test where both our hearts are.
Yeah.
They cannot. The Bible says, "Love forgives all things."
Yeah.
That's what real love is. So
Yeah.
thank you for loving me and forgiving me.
Oh.
Considering how straitjacketed and yeah.
Yeah. Like I like the street jacketness. Like it's I know what I'm getting, you know. It's like there's no wishy washy about you. It's not part of you. Yeah. So that's how we met. And we're so grateful for how far God has brought us for this journey. We don't take it for granted, you know. I feel like we are blessed. Okay. I would use the word lucky, but we're Christians, so we're blessed. Yeah, and I know that anyone that is like just waiting on the Lord for their spouse, that God will give you that person that you're waiting for. Or if you're in a situation where you wish like your marriage was like under better circumstances, like there's absolutely nothing God cannot do as long as you trust Him. And one thing that with our marriage is that it has actually like brought us closer to God. At least for me, like where I am now is not where I was. So always like just when you're thinking about like your spouse, don't be too close minded. Know that okay, yeah, they have to love God, they have to love the Lord, but like also know that there's always room to grow.
Yes.
And thank you for being here with
Yeah,
us.
thank you. Thank you for staying with us.
Yes, hope you enjoyed our story.
Yeah, and continue. I think this is a journey of trusting God.
Yeah.
And we're still doing that every day.
Every day.
As He graces us to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking forward to having more conversations with everyone.
Definitely.
And trusting God through this process, what He's initiated. So,
Bye.
see you.
See you later. Bye.